Hey, what's up, guys? It's Zain. I know I've been gone for a minute, so I had to come back and holler at you guys, right? Make another video for you guys. And this one's gonna be really straightforward and clear and straight to the point, right? It's a topic that's been on my mind recently, and it's been coming up a lot recently with my friends, going on dates, meeting people, just having a conversation, right? And I know what you're thinking, right? You're like, Zane, why are you bringing such a topic up on dates, right? Or why are you bringing a topic up as friends, with friends, or whatever, right? And the reason for this is this topic genuinely arises from conversations, genuinely arises from everyday conversations about reality, everyday conversations about debt, right? About debt. Because I'm a very deep person, right? I'm a very deep person. I like going deep into things, and I know you might say that I'm pessimistic or whatever, right? And I'm just gonna get right into it and say, look, this conversation comes up, and I know it has to do with politics or whatnot, or just how society works, but I'm very open. I don't care to talk about certain things or whatnot. Even on dates, I'll talk about politics if I have to, right? Or not even if I have to. I'll just bring it up. I'm very open about it. So let me get right into it, right? And the topic is, why is the United States so divided now, right? Why is the United States so goddamn divided? What's happening? Are we going down a shithole pretty much? Are we like what's wrong? Right? What's going on, right? And what I want to say is that just how the United States is set up is what's given the United States so much diversification, right? So you have the United States as a whole, right? You have the United States. You have the United States, which breaks down into 50 states, which breaks down into individual counties of the respective state, which breaks down into cities, right? The cities break down into zip codes. The zip codes break down into little bitty streets, right? The streets break down into subdivisions. And within that subdivision is your home. Alright? So, if we were to start and look at this as a whole, look at how many entities there are. When you have so many different entities within a whole country, there is going to be clashes. There's so much diversity. And when I say diversity, I'm not just talking about race. I'm just talking about within the political shift and the powers, right? The government, right? Even the city has their own government, right? The county, the towns, the homeowners association is kind of a government itself. So when you have so much municipalities, there's going to be some ideological shifts. Not everybody's going to get along. And that makes me think the United States has always valued their independence. We've always valued our independence. We've always been separate and independent than our next door neighbors. Right? I live in Texas. We have 254 counties. Now imagine how many cities there are within those counties. Right? Thousands. Thousands of cities. And when I say cities, I'm including towns, what have you, right? Cities, right? Thousands of cities within those 254 counties. And I know some of these counties are consolidated, right? Because they're some of these counties may be so sparse that they consolidate with each other. So just this whole paradigm shift makes me think that there's always been a clash. There's always been separate views from one city to a different city. You may live in a city that um, is dry, right? When it comes to liquor, it's dry. You go down to the next city, you can buy liquor, right? Before texting was illegal statewide in Texas, right? Before texting and driving was illegal in Texas, some cities had already made it illegal as a city ordinance. So, like, do you see how many, like, little nuances there are? How much power there is, right? How much power there is even within cities. Every city usually has a municipal court. Now, if you're in a consolidated city or a consolidated county, you might not have that. Your city might not have their own court. Your city might not have their own jail. But within one city to another major city, they have their own municipal court. They have their own way of doing things. They have their own jail. They have their own police department. They have their own city's office, right? They have their own city attorney. They have their own council members. They have their own mayor, which is part of the council members, right? There's a mayor and then however many council member places there are within the city. So, just imagine how many resources are being fed into this. How much money is being placed into this. How many resources, how much goes into this, right? How much resources and how many resources are going into this, right? Every city has a police department. Every county has their own sheriff's department. Every county is separate. Like some counties don't prosecute marijuana in Texas. Some counties do. Right? Statewide, it's still illegal. So when you have such different barriers within like miles of each other, and by barriers I mean like different cities to a different city, like you can travel from one city to another city within a radius of like 5 to 10 miles, and everything changes. Everything changes. You're gonna have issues. You're gonna have people not getting along with each other. You're gonna have different ideologies, right? You're gonna have liberals and conservatives, leftists and right wings, right? You're gonna have such shifts. And it's always been like this. Just how the United States has been set up. It's been set up for conflicts, in my opinion. It's been set up for people to have conflicts, right? And if you want to break it down even further, let's get even further into this. Every state has their own constitution. Now, states may guarantee more rights than the federal United States Constitution, but every state also has a Supreme Court. Every state has their own Supreme Court. They have their own structure of courts, right? And look at all the judicial efficiency that's being fed into these states, right? How much it costs. Every state has their own prisons. Every state has their own different rules about parole. So you're in a country which is divided itself. So no wonder you ask this question, why is the United States so divided? Well, it's been set up to be divided. It's been set up to be divided. It's been set up to be divided even to the most basic level. Even to the most basic level, which is your house. Right? Which is your house. You might be in a subdivision or a homeowners association. Right? Which is maybe a private entity, but it's still a form of self-government. Alright, if you say that's a private entity, what about the city you're in? Your city is different from a different city. You're the city you're adjacent to. Just even to the most basic human principle. Right? The United States is divided. Yes, there are 50 states, but it's beyond that. It's beyond that. Some cities have zip codes. Even these zip codes are divided into demographics and certain categories and what have you. And let's break this down even further, right? Let's go even deeper. What about the territories? right? What about the territories of the United States? They have their own governing laws. They have their own governing laws, which are separate from the states, right? So you have states and territories. But let's go back to the states, right? We're just focused on the states. If we go back to the states, even school districts are part of the government, right? There's some school districts that are consolidated and there's some independent school districts, right? Your city may belong to a school district, right? Your city may belong to a school district that you have no part of being in. And what I mean by that is, like, let's say you live in city A, right? You live in city A, but people from city B go to your school, which is in city A. So let's say the school is in city A also, and you live in city A, but students from city B are coming into city A because city B is part of city A's school district. And city A and city B are different, right? You might think that only your city, only the people that live in your city can go in your schools. But school districts are a whole different municipality, whole different animal. Even that's divided. Even that's divided. Even that's a form of government, right? How much money goes into these school districts? Even within cities, you have different high schools, right? You have different high schools. Each high school has their own football team. Each high school has their own basketball team. What high school you go to, it's the football team you usually cheer for. It's the football team you usually root for, right? And I know football is a very big thing in America, right? Football is a very big thing. So, even that's a rivalry in itself, right? Within cities, you're divided based on football teams. It's just the United States is so divided. Just how the self-government and the self-governance system is set up, it's bound to cause conflict. It's bound to lead people into not agreeing with each other. All right. Now, I've heard that we're the best country, right? I've heard we're the best country in the nation, and I agree with that. And I'm not saying this to be pessimistic, or I'm not making this video so you guys can say, oh, I'm being pessimistic and what have you, right? Let me give you a solution. What should we do, right? Since we're so divided, and I broke it down for you why we're so divided and how the self-governance system works, and just how everything is so, how even the basic entities are divided in the United States. And everything breaks down into bigger realms, right? You have the city, the county, the state, the United States. And I've already broken down further. I've broken down even further. But what should we do? We should accept this. We should accept this and stop calling others out for this, right? We should accept this and stop calling others out for this. It's okay not to agree with people. You're not going to agree with everybody. But don't turn it into fist fights. Don't turn it into name calling. Alright? You might have your own views, right? You might be a liberal. You might be a conservative or whatever, right? I know I lean towards a certain way. And I have the right to as a United States citizen. I have the right to vote for certain parties, right? But I don't sit there and name call people, right? I don't sit there and make fun of the president, right? I don't sit there and make fun of governors. I don't sit there and make fun of a state, right? I accept how the reality is. And look, this is the reality. The United States has always been divided, right? The Civil War, right? The 13 colonies. The Missouri Compromise, right? The territories, the Indian territories. It's always been divided. We've always had to compromise. And that's what I'm trying to get at. Compromising is the solution. If you don't like something, you work towards changing it. But understand the United States is divided. It's always been divided. And it's going to stay divided. Just how the government works in the United States, it's set up to be divided. It's set up to create conflicts. And what should you do? You should accept these conflicts. And I'm not saying that you should accept there and just sit there and take whatever is being given to you. right? As a part of the United States citizen, you have the right to challenge whatever you want, but do it peacefully. Do it in the right way. All right? Don't name call. Don't do this. Don't do that. All right? And I'm always open to have this conversation. Let me know what you guys think. If you agree with what I'm saying, let me know. If you don't agree, let me know as well. And hopefully I got to some of y'all. All right? So, yeah, that's it. That's all I want to say, guys. I am done. Peace.